In this video, we're going to focus on a very advanced topic, which is how to create clickable vertical lines here. And you can see here, as we click or hover over a data point, and the moment we click on it, it will draw one. But of course, if we click again on it, it will remove them one by one. So let's start to look at how to do this. So let's start to look how to draw the vertical lines by clicking on the data points in Chart.js. To do this, the first thing what we need is we need to go to chartjs3.com. Getting started, this specific link here, which you can also find in the description box, scroll down and just get the default code here. Let's copy this. And if you want to understand this, I would recommend you to watch this video here, which explains the code. So once we did this, I'm going to paste it all in there, and then I will just cut out this title here and put it in here. Save it, refresh, there we are. So for this case, I'm going to use a line chart because a line chart is the most practical for us. So we're going to do that one now. Well, let's convert it into a line chart. So I'm going to scroll down here, and then you say type will be line. And then here for the colors, I guess this here, I can just remove the border width. And for the colors, I'll just delete everything except for the red one or the first value. Save that, refresh, and there we are. So we have these nice items here. Alright, so what we really want to do is we want to click on here and then draw an item here. And this here is a real tricky one. So it took me really a long time to figure this out. So what we're going to do here is, well, I'm going to show you exactly why it takes so much time. But what we need to do here is, of course, to create a plugin first. So I'm going to put in comma here. And I'm going to say a plugin. And in this plugin, we're going to put in here, let's say, clickable lines. That will be the plugin name. So then we say here, let me just put in this here, we say the plugin block. And then we say a constant clickable lines equals, and then we can say here the ID clickable line, although we won't be using that, so but it's alright. And then we can say here the timing. So we have here two items we have to work with, and that is the real tricky one. The reason why is this. Let me show you exactly. When we click on something, and once the tooltip activates, it will remove the items, whatever is being drawn. And this is very, very tricky. So what we have to do is we have to find a way how we can make sure that the onclick event and the drawing will maintain even after the tooltip does something here. So this is what we're going to work on. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, is I'm going to say here after event. So we're going to after the event of the click. We're going to show here the following. We say a chart, arguments, and then we can say a plugin options, which is directly related to this here, or we can say plugin options. Although it doesn't matter what you name it. Before I would tend to name it options, but I realized that plugin options is a far more better term because it's specifically geared towards this specific plugin here. Anyway, the last two, or at least this one we will be using, this one will become important here for our onclick event. So what I want to do here is, first of all, I want to show you here console log args, save, and then I'm going to refresh here, and if I click now, open developer tab, you can see here it shows all kinds of things. Click or hover, both of them are being shown. So if I keep on clicking, let's see what happens. Alright, I click here, we can see here event, mouse move. I guess it's very hard to find it, but you can see here the type of event. So in the event, the type is mouse move. So let's convert this now. And then what I'm going to do here now is event.type, save, refresh. Click. You can see here now, as I do that, I click on it and it recognizes the click. And you can see here as well, mouse out, mouse move, all these events that we have, it recognizes. But what we want here is really the click event. So once we know these events, well, let's get the click event. We need to extract the click event, and when we click on it, what we need to know is basically our mouse coordinates. So once we have this, well, we can do this one here. We can just basically create here a very simple if statement. I'm going to say if statement, and if we can just grab this argument event type. So we say if constant click, and then we say equals to that, and then we make an if statement of if click equals strict click. If that is the case, we can say here console log, we get the value here and save that. We should see now only the click. So now if I click, there you are. So no matter if you hover on, out, or on a specific item, or mouse move, it will not function anymore. It will not trigger a event. It only does it on click. So we have this now. The next thing what I need to know is, let's get again the arguments. What is the coordinate? So the moment I click, I need to know where I click, because what I really want to do is, I want to click when I'm within this region, for example, on this data set, or maybe we can make a slightly bigger radius, so it's easier to click on it. So we want to make sure that we are within this. If we are, in that case, click, you can see here, if I click now, you can see here all the information, events, and you can see the X and Y coordinates. This is what we need. We need this X and Y coordinates because these are basically directly related to the canvas. So where am I clicking on the canvas? And then we can realize, alright, if you click on this, compare that information with where the coordinates of this data set is located, and then we can trigger the drawing line. So I'm going to say here, let's create very simply the X and Y. So we can say this constant X cursor equals, now we can just grab this one here. Let's see how we get there. We go from arguments event to X, and the other one is arguments event to Y. So we have the X first. Let's say constant Y cursor equals exactly the same, except this will be the letter Y. Save that. Now if I have the X and Y, console log, it should get us only the items the moment we click. There we are. We click here, there we are, there we are. So now we have the coordinates where we are clicking on, the X and Y coordinates. Now we can start to go deeper into the next item, which is the comparison of our item, or at least if we click on an item, are we clicking truly on a data set, or are we just clicking on a white space? If we click on white space or somewhere outside of the radius, in that case we should not draw anything here. So that's what we have to work on. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to get the X and Y coordinates for every data set. So I'm going to say here, let's do this one here, say X and Y coordinates of each data set. And what we need to do is the following. This is very important because we will get here first the center. Let's get that one first, and after I'm going to show you exactly what we need to do next. So what I'm going to do here is how to get that. Well, basically we go to chart, do your console log, and then I'm going to use a specific command here, but you can just do the chart first, save that, and let's remove this item here, we don't need that, save, refresh. Alright, so if I click now, we get now the chart information, and what I need is specifically, let's scroll down here into the meta or underscore meta sets, and then here, this is the data set, and every data set has specific coordinates in the data here. Look at this, click on this, then you get here the X and Y coordinate of the item, which is basically this one here, and then here, and then here. All of these numbers. However, as you can see here, this one would mean the exact coordinate in here. And I don't want the exact, because that would mean that I need to exactly click in the center of the item with my mouse just to get the drawing line. What I want to do is I want to make it more flexible, that we have a hit point radius, very similar to the tooltip. With the tooltip as well, the moment we are close or within this circle, in that case, that is basically the trigger point, and not exactly the dot in the center, which is this exact point, because that would be too hard to click on. So we have this information, and then we put in here like what we can say a margin, which in this case would be very similar to this. I will make it slightly bigger so we don't have to be exactly on the circle, but just somewhere within this area. So what I'm going to do is, this is the first item I need to extract. So how do we get that? Let's say here, no, I don't want this, but I want to say underscore. How do we get there? Meta sets. Oh, where is that? It jumped down. There we are, meta sets, and then index 0. Meta sets with an S, just like data sets, 0, and then here, dot data. We go here to dot data, and then you have 0, etc., depending on the item. So if I do this now, just save this, refresh, we should now, if I click on it, we should see now only the data point. Alright, so now we have this. What I want to do now is start to get every one of these items. And then what I want to do is I want to make sure that there is a margin within them. So how do we do that? I want to create here a for item. There's a for or for loop. There's a for, and then let I or equals 0, and then we're going to say here I want to loop through this as long as chart.make the meta sets. What I'm going to do here is the length. I'm going to grab the length here, which is 7. So loop through this as long as this dot length is lower than the I. Alright, so once we did this, we're going to say here I plus plus to increment. And then in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab here basically the item. So I'm going to say here, and I'm going to say copy. And then we're going to say this, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do. Let's do this. And then here we say I, and I will say dot X. So if I do this, you will see it will loop through it the moment I click on it. It loop through all these items. But now this is the exact item. As I told you previously, I don't want the exact item. I want to have a range. So if I do here minus, let's say here minus 10 pixels, save that. Click here. Now it will change the calculation. So then it gives us a range within. And so what I want to do here is the clickable area will be the following. We say constant x minimum, which would be the exact dot minus 10 pixels. And then we do exactly the same, but then we say here x maximum, which would be plus 10. And then let's copy this again. And we do this exactly the same for the y values. So when we have this, and you can remove one or the other. If you want, for example, anywhere here, you can just remove the y values. Then it will trigger within anywhere on the y scale. So it doesn't matter in that case. So make sure you change this one here, but if you want to be very exact, within here, so basically from here, 10 pixel radius, and that's the circle that we have. Alright, so now we have this. If I refresh here, if I click now here, alright, so you can see only this one works here because that one is in the console. Let me double check where that is. Here. So I want to remove this now because all I want to do now is, or we can say here, console log. Then I'm going to say here, click within circle. Save. So now if I click, alright, oh interesting, it still works here. So let me double check what's going on. I was not expecting this. Oh, of course. So the reason why is we have this data, but I didn't create another if statement. And the if statement should be if we're now within these 4 data points. So let's start to do that one. And that's why it doesn't work here yet. So what I'm going to do now is the following. Because we have now our boundaries. So I'm going to say here the following. If. And then in this if statement, what I'm going to say is the following. If, let's see, if our X cursor, which is this one here, which gets us the pixels of what we clicked, our clicking of our cursor, would be, let's see, bigger or equal to X minimum, and would be, and the X cursor would be smaller or equal to X max. So what will happen with this is that we are within this boundary. In that case, then we can say here, let's say here, click within. This is even not even in the circle, within the X, the circle. So if I save this now, refresh, and now if I try to click here, you can see it doesn't work. But do I click here? Right now, we are within the X. I didn't filter the Y, so that will mean that anywhere here up on the scale, I can still click. So you can see it always triggers. So now what I'm going to do is exactly the same, but now for the Y cursor. So if the Y cursor is bigger or equal to the X of a Y minimum, and the Y cursor would be smaller or equal to Y maximum. In that case, if I save this, now we are exactly in X and Y. So if I click here, doesn't work until I come here within this area in the circle. As you can see here, once we are somewhere here in the radius, it starts to work. And if you want to expand this, we can basically expand the hit radius as well. So we could do here probably a point radius. let's say point radius will be 10 as well. Save. Alright, you can see here, although this is not really what I wanted, maybe not the point but the hit radius. Save. You see here, and now here that works, and if you click as well, it's very similar to it, so it's slightly aligned with it. Alright, so now we have this, but we're not done here as well. So now we have the item here. So what I need to do here is, let me see. So what we need to do here is basically record the activity. However, I'm going to show you something. This is the reason why this was so challenging. And you will see that as well. So if you would say here, let's say we're going to do a fill style. We're going to draw something here. Chart, and then I realized that maybe we can do here even the item. This here is optional because it will not work. But I want to show you because this is very important. If you're going to do here, although we can just ignore that one, what I'm going to do here is just chart.ctx. And we say dot fill style. I'm going to draw a shape here. I'm going to say this will be red. And we say chart.ctx, and fill style. Make sure you only have the capitalized S, not the L. Sorry. So chart.ctx, and then what I'm going to do here is what is that? Fill rectangle. Correct. And then we're going to say 10 by 10 by 10 by 10. So very simple. So if I refresh here now, nothing happens. And then if I click here, you can see here, look what happened. It draws, but the moment I move, or when the tooltip disappears, everything else, the shape disappears. And this is a massive problem because what we need to do here now is to communicate to something else. So this is why this was my biggest headache. So we don't need this. But what I need to do here is something else. I need to record that we had an activity here. And once we know that there's an activity here, we can then communicate that activity, send it to another functionality. So what I'm going to do here is now here up. This is the only way so far I figured it out. Is we're going to put here a global variable or constant, global constant. And then what I'm going to do in here, I'm going to only track only this. I say here let clicked, and here this will be an array. And the reason why it will be an array because we have 7 items here, so we need to have 7 items we tracked because we want to have a line here, and if you click here, we want a line here, but we don't want to remove the other lines. So we will only remove if we click again on the same item. So we create a toggle similar item. So in here, I'm going to just do it like this, but you can do it with a for loop as well, based on how many data points you have or labels you have, and I loop that through. However, I just do it simple, but you should be able to understand what I'm doing here. And if you struggle with that, I would say go check the for loops and use a for loop in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So we have 7 items here because we have 7 data points. So what I want to do now is once we have this here, this global constant, we can now track that here. And what I want to do is the following. I'm going to say here an if statement again, and then I'm going to do here the following. Say if clicked, and then what I want to do is I want to make sure where are we clicking on. And this is very important for us because right now we have this here with the for loop here, and you can easily, the for loop, you can easily track on which index you're clicking because we have an I here. So we say if clicked, and what I'm going to say here I, and if you're wondering why I, because it will be matched directly with this array. So if clicked equals 0, in that case, what I want to do is I want to set click array I. We set this to 1, and then or else. Now make sure we do this correctly. Sorry. There we are, and we say here this should be here. Else, I guess we can just do it to make it nice. We just put it like that. So that's it. If else. Alright, so else clicked will be set on 0. So basically what I'm doing is the following. I'm going to say we're going to check if clicked is 0. If it is 0, we're going to set to 1. And this 1 would indicate we're going to draw something specific. And if that is not the case, we're going to, or if it's already drawn, we want to set it on 0, and that would mean we're going to remove it. So we have this here now, and then make sure we have, I guess we have a double parentheses here, or curly braces, so we don't need that. So now we're going to save that. And what I want to do here, we have all of this, and let's see here. If I do here now a simple console log, we should be able to track this movement here. And I'm going to say console log, and then say you clicked, save, refresh. Alright, so you can see this here, but if I click now, here we are. We get now the first tracker. So click again here, you can see here, it tracks the next item. This is necessary because we're not allowed to draw on the event. Because if you draw on the event, as I showed you, it will disappear immediately. Alright, so now we have this. What I want to do now is start to make the next part. So this is not an easy task, of course. So we have here this, I'm going to do here after the event, that's this one here. We're going to put a comma here. And then what I'm going to say here, now instead of after the event, I'm going to do the next thing, and that is the after data sets draw. So what I want to do is I want to draw the lines after the data set, or after the data set has been drawn. So that would mean if we draw that, or maybe we should do even before, I realize why. So it's behind the data set, these lines. So that should make far more sense. So we say before the data set has been drawn. Alright. In here, I'm going to use chart arcs, and then we're going to use here the plugin options. Again, same items, although those two are now not necessary for us. We're going to focus only on the chart. So what we're going to do here, we're going to create here the object destructuring, and if you're wondering what's an object destructuring, all these items here are basically objects. And then what we can do is we can just grab them and get the object itself as a shorthand. So I'm going to say here, this equals chart. And then what I need is I need here specifically the coordinates. And the coordinates that I need is from the chart area. Well, first of all, I need CTX because I want to draw on the chart, comma, we'll say chart area. And the chart area, I need to have the top and bottom pixel. Right? Why? The top is this, and this is the bottom, so I can draw the line from here to there. Because what I need to know is when I click on it, on which index are we, and then can we draw the line on it. Alright, so now we have this. So what we have to do here, and this is very important as well, we cannot draw by default how we normally do with the rect fill and rectangle, and then we draw like what we did here with the square. The reason why this is not allowed, or we cannot do this, once you draw it on there, you cannot modify it. What I mean by that, I want you to imagine the following. Imagine you have a piece of paper, and you draw a square on the piece of paper, and then you realize the position of that square is wrong, so what you need to do is you need to rub it out. But of course, in Canvas, you cannot rub that out. Yes, it's like, or you need to use a new piece of paper. So what you want to do instead of that is, you can imagine like you cut out on a separate piece of paper, square, and put it on your paper without doing anything yet, but just put it on top of it. And then you can move it to the left or right, no problem. And that's what we're going to do. Basically, that metaphor that I just explained, we're going to do here. Instead of drawing directly in the canvas, I'm going to draw it on the canvas as a shape that is a separate item. Then we can move that shape. So I hope you understand that metaphor, because that's the one we're going to do. So what I'm going to do here now is we're going to create what we call a class object, or a class constructor. This is very important. So I'm going to say here, let's say class, and then this we can say here line. And this specific line class will have a constructor, and this constructor will get the I guess, I'm not sure if it's the width coordinate or the x position. We can say maybe x position or the width. It's one or the other what you can name it, because basically it's the exact coordinates where we're going to draw, which would be based on the x position of the data set. So I guess the x coordinate here, maybe x COR, x coordinate, will be the most descriptible term. And then what I want to say here, this dot width will equal to whatever the x coordinate is. And how do we get the x coordinate? Remember, we get that here because of this item. Here we can draw them. More specifically, basically it's this one here. I can show you if I do this here and I do an now console log, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. This will grab us because here we have the index. And that's why we have like these here. All these will later on help us. So I'm going to save this, refresh. Let's see if it works. Click. Let's see. It loads a lot, I realize, so that's maybe undesirable. Let's see here if X and Y. Oh wait, if I click on this, maybe we should get something. There we are. This is the coordinate, or one of the coordinates whenever we click on. So that's what we need. So once we know how to get those, or at least we have this, so you can imagine now this. I'm going to remove this again. We don't need that here. We go down here. Where is it? In a constructor. Alright, so we have a constructor, and then will be eventually the coordinate. So then what I want to do here is, where we have this, and then we're going to create here basically the item. So we're going to draw now on the CTX. Why CTX? CTX is reference to the canvas. So we're going to draw in the canvas. And what I'm going to draw now is the specific shape. But the shape, remember, is not officially within the canvas that we can remove it. Now it's like an object. So we can modify it, hide it, and disappear it later on. So that's very important. So I'm going to say here ctx.restore, just to be sure that we'll remove all default settings. And then now I'm going to say ctx.begin path. At the begin path, and then what I want to do here now is just to draw the line. So I'm going to say ctx.line width. We can say this will be 1 pixel. Equal 1 pixel. Next, what I'm going to do is a ctx stroke style for the color. We're going to say this will be, if you want to get the official Chart.js color, it is RGBA and then 102, 102, 102. That's a gray color. And then here, I think it's a transparency of 0.2 or 0.3. Doesn't matter. Once we have that, then I'm going to say now the starting position of the item. So when we click on it, and you can see here, a condition of our click must be that we are within the radius. If we click elsewhere, it will not be triggered. So, but when we click on it, what I want to do here is I want to say ctx.move to, what is our starting point? This is with the x and y coordinates. So how do we get that? Well, I want to basically start at the very top, here, or wherever we click on. If we click on this one, we should start here. If we click on this, we should start here at the top, which is in this case exactly the same location. So what I want to do now is here. First of all, the top here is this one. That's the easy one. Here the x-coordinate. Well, what is the x-coordinate here? So we have to see here. The x-coordinate is basically this width here. We can just grab this, put it in there. Alright, so once we have that, then what I want to say here is I want to move. And what I'm going to do here is the move to, or sorry, not move to, the line to. So that's very confusing one. The move to is the starting point, and then the line to is where the line will go. Well, the line goes to the very bottom here, but still we make a straight line, so it's the same position on the width. We won't move the width. All I want to move is this. Say this is now bottom. So once I did this, I'm going to say here ctx dot save, and then of course, besides save, I will say ctx. Make sure that is also ctx dot stroke to draw the line. And let's save this. So if I refresh here now, if I click on it, nothing happens. Why nothing happens? Because we have still this to work with. We have to create now the if statement to recognize if the condition is met, if it's 1. If it's not 1, do not draw a line. If it is 1, draw the line. So that's what we're going to do next here. So we have this one here, and what I'm going to do here is after this class here, so let me just enter this, and then here this class ends here. So here I'm going to do now a for loop, and this for loop will say here again, let I equal 0, semicolon I, and then what I'm going to say here, clicked. Remember clicked that we had before? Copy that, put it in there, dot length. This is basically the length of this one here, which is 7 items in the index. Then we're going to say here I++, and then what I want to do is the following. So we say here if, we're going to do again an if statement, if clicked I, which is the index, equals strict 1. in that case, what I want to do now is I want to draw. I'm going to say here, let line equals new rectangle. Oh, sorry, not new rectangle. My bad. I say here line, so we say here new, and we get the class or the class name of the constructor. Remember that. So we're going to say here, and this line here, maybe you say here, we can say draw line, just to get not confused. Go to draw the line. Say here, and then what I'm going to do here is the following. So here we need to put in the coordinates. If I say here, let's say 2, and then I'm going to say here, draw the line, put in here, or say here dot draw, and then here CTX. Where are we going to draw? In the CTX. CTX equals C2X, that's this one here. So we trigger that one. Right now, it will only draw an index 2. So if I save this here, refresh. If I do something here, if I click, doesn't work. No, not yet. Alright, so I'm going to check. Oh, alright. So you can see here what happened. It does. If I click again here, doesn't work yet. So don't worry, but it starts to do something. As you can see here. What is this 2? I guess the 2 is not even the variable, but it's the pixel amount. So we're going to work on that. So what I need to do here now is, if I say here 20, it probably would move a bit more here. So if I click on that, or if I click on here, as you can see here, I have to click on this specific item now. Alright, so now let's start to work on it correctly. So what I want to do here now is I'm going to get the chart._meta sets index 0, because it's the data set 1, the first data set, which is the item. Now we say here data I.x, because I need to get here the x coordinates. So if I save this now and refresh, if I click here, alright, and if I click here, alright, if I click here, alright, so you might see here, I'm not sure if you're able to see it, or maybe what I will do is, I'll make this thicker, and then we have that one here, and then what I can do here is maybe a dotted line. So let's say here it is dotted line, ctx.set, then here dash line, if I'm not mistaken, it is a line dash. And I'm going to say here 5 or 6 pixels line and then 6 pixels white space. But if you do this, for some reason the reset will not work, so I'm going to copy this. I want to reset it afterwards to nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete everything, make it blank, so it will reset the line dash, or else if you don't do that, everything else will impact. So refresh here, click, there you are. So now you can see here this works. However, if I click on it, oh, there you are, it works, but then after it doesn't work. Alright, so let's solve those issues here. So we have this one here, we have that done. So what I want to do now is I want to go up here, and what I need to do here, we can remove this click. Let's go to check here for the following. I need to update here. Where exactly do I need to update? I need to update it in the event here once everything is done on after the if. Oh, if, you can see here, not in this if, because if it's clicked. So after this for loop here, we're going to do here. Alright, so make sure, because we need to be in this for loop and not after the if, because it must be within the if statement of clicking. So we're going to say here chart.update, and then it should work nicely. Save, refresh. Let's see. We click here, click again, there we are. If I click here, click again, there we are. Click, 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 click. Alright, and that is basically how to do it. And you can see here, I can even click here a little bit outside of the radius, and then it will show here already. There we are, there we are, and there we are. And finally, can we unclick them all in different orders? Then maybe we'll add it again. Yes, there we are. Everything works nicely. And this is basically how to do it. This is a quite advanced item here. So if you enjoyed this video, and maybe instead of these kind of vertical lines you want horizontal lines, I have here a whole video as well on how to create a dotted horizontal line in Chart.js. But of course, if you want to make it clickable, just understand how to use the coordinates and how to use this and combine it together with the video here, what you just watched. So that together will create the horizontal clickable line.